scary. What happens to Capricorn in 2026? There's something coming for Capricorn in 2026 that will shake the foundations of everything you've built. And I'm not talking about a passing crisis. I'm not talking about a challenge you'll overcome with discipline and hard work like you always have. I'm talking about a structural collapse, a spiritual earthquake so deep it will crack the mountain you've spent decades climbing. Capricorn, you who have always been the sign of endurance, strength, control. In 2026, you'll discover there's something more powerful than your will. And this discovery will bring you to your knees. Because what the universe has prepared for you isn't another endurance test. It's a test of surrender. And surrender is the last thing a Capricorn knows how to do. You're about to enter the most difficult year of your life. A year that will question every belief you have about success, about control, about strength. A year that will show you that sometimes what seems like weakness is the only real form of strength. And before you think about closing this video believing you can handle this alone as you always have, let me tell you something that will send chills down your spine. In the last 3 months, more than 31 Capricorns contacted me reporting exactly the same phenomenon. A feeling that no matter how much they work, how much they try, how much they control, nothing is working anymore. As if the rules of the game had changed overnight. As if all the effort was being wasted in a direction that leads nowhere. Repetitive dreams where they're climbing a mountain that never ends. Or worse, where they reach the top and discover they were climbing the wrong mountain all along. Coincidence? No, Corn. It's the universe sending advance warnings that 2026 will be the year when everything you believe about success will be put to the test. Because while you watch this video, cosmic forces are aligning. Planetary transits that only happen once every 29 years are approaching. And Capricorn is directly in the line of fire. If you feel a weight in your chest now, a tension in your shoulders that won't go away no matter how much you rest, it's because your body is already detecting the first waves of this transformative energy. Now pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. This video wasn't made to motivate you. It wasn't made to give you more productivity strategies. It wasn't made to teach you to work harder. It was made to prepare you for the moment when working hard will no longer be enough. For the moment when control becomes impossible. For the moment when you'll have to do the hardest thing a Capricorn can do. Let go, and what's coming in 2026, Capricorn, is bigger than you. Bigger than your plans. Bigger than your discipline. Bigger than all your willpower. 2026 will be the year you discover you're not the mountain. You're the climber. And sometimes, the climber needs to descend the wrong mountain to be able to climb the right one. And this descent will be the scariest part. Because it will feel like failure. It will feel like you've lost all progress. It will feel like years of effort were in vain. But they weren't. You were just climbing in the wrong direction. And 2026 will redirect you. By force, if necessary. If you're a Capricorn, if you have Capricorn rising, if you have Saturn in important positions in your chart, this video is a direct warning from the cosmos to you. And before I reveal the specific signs that will mark the beginning of this collapse, you need to do something crucial now. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes isn't something you'll find in any self-help book. These aren't productivity techniques or motivational mantras. This is deep spiritual knowledge about what happens when the structure you built with so much effort begins to crumble. And if you're not subscribed, you won't receive the next guidance I'll release in the coming weeks. Guidance about how to survive when control becomes impossible. About how to rebuild when everything collapses. About how to find strength in vulnerability. So click subscribe now. And let's start this journey together. Because, Capricorn, what's coming in 2026 isn't the end of your story. It's the real beginning. But to begin again, you first need to accept that what you've built until now wasn't what your soul really wanted. It was what you thought you should want. And this difference will be revealed in the most painful way possible. You worked hard. Capricorn sacrificed yourself. Gave up pleasures, postponed dreams. Carried responsibilities that weren't yours. All because you believed that if you worked hard enough, if you were disciplined enough, if you controlled everything enough, you would get where you wanted. But 2026 will ask you a question impossible to avoid. Where exactly did you want to get? And this question will paralyze you because you'll realize you never stopped to really think about it. You were too busy climbing to question if it was the right mountain, too busy working to ask if the work made sense, too busy building to check if the foundation was on solid ground. And now the truth will appear. And it will hurt more than any failure you've ever experienced, because it won't be the pain of failing to achieve what you wanted. It will be the pain of discovering you never really wanted it in the first place. In the next chapters, I'll reveal exactly what will happen, the signs that will mark the beginning of the collapse, the revelation that will change everything, the rupture you don't see coming. And at the end, I'll give you a powerful ritual you need to perform this year to prepare energetically. But before we continue, leave your sign in the comments now. Right, I am Capricorn and I'm ready to rebuild. This isn't just a comment. It's a recognition that you're aware something needs to change. It's you telling the universe you're willing to let go of control. And believe me, the universe is watching. Now take a deep breath, Capricorn. Because what comes next will challenge everything you believe about strength, success, and survival. Capricorn, you've always believed in control, in discipline, in the idea that if you plan well enough, work hard enough, prepare enough, you can control the outcome. You're the sign that builds empires, that climbs mountains, that transforms obstacles into steps. You're the master of strategic patience, calculated persistence, sacrifice with purpose. But what's coming in 2026 will completely destroy this illusion. We'll show you that the control you've always had wasn't real. It was just the universe allowing you to believe that for a while. And now, time's up. Because there's a difference between having control and having the illusion of control. And 2026 will show you this difference in the most brutal way possible. We'll put you in situations where, no matter how much you plan, things will crumble. No matter how much you work, results won't come. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to hold what's collapsing. And this will be terrifying for you. Because your entire identity is built on the idea that you're the builder, the controller, the responsible one. But what if you're not? What if you're just another piece in a much bigger game? What if all the control you thought you had was just the universe letting you practice for the real moment? You know, that exhaustion you've been feeling lately, that fatigue that doesn't pass, no matter how much you sleep, that sensation that you're carrying an invisible weight that gets heavier each day. This isn't common burnout, Capricorn. It's your soul detecting that the structure is cracking, that the foundation on which you built everything isn't as solid as you thought. And this detection is happening at such a deep level that your body is reacting before your mind can process it. Let me explain what's happening in the spiritual backstage of your life right now. There's a concept in astrology called the final Saturn return. It's not the first Saturn return that happens at age 29. It's not the second that happens at 58. It's something different. It's when Saturn, the planet that rules Capricorn, the planet of structure, discipline, time, stops building and starts demolishing, stops adding and starts removing, stops teaching you through effort and starts teaching through loss. And 2026 marks this moment for an entire generation of Capricorns. It's not a personal transit. It's a collective awakening. A wave of structural collapse that will cross through all Capricorns born in certain decades at the same time. And what does this wave bring? The truth about what you're sustaining. You'll start to notice that much of what you carry isn't yours. Responsibilities you assumed because no one else would. Expectations you internalized without questioning. Standards of success that were imposed on you that you never stopped to verify were really yours. You built a mountain of obligations, a pyramid of duties, a fortress of responsibilities. And now, in 2026, you'll discover something terrifying. You're not inside this fortress. You're trapped in it. And there's no exit door. Because you locked all the doors yourself when you built it. You buried yourself alive under your own achievements. And now you don't know how to get out. The masks will start to crack. Capricorn. But these aren't superficial social masks. They're the structural masks that support your identity. The mask of the competent one who always solves everything. The mask of the responsible one who never fails. The mask of the strong one who never asks for help. The mask of the successful one who has everything under control. All these masks will start to shatter. And when they start to fall, you'll feel terror. Because without these masks, you don't know who you are. You spent so much time being the Capricorn other people needed you to be, that you completely forgot who you are when no one is asking for anything, when there are no responsibilities to fulfill, when there are no expectations to meet, when there are no mountains to climb. Who is Capricorn when Capricorn isn't working? This question will haunt you in 2026, and the answer will be disturbing, because you'll realize you don't know. You became your function. You became your responsibilities. You became your work. And now, when all of this starts to crumble, what's left? Let me tell you about Paul, a 42-year-old Capricorn who contacted me in 2024. Paul was the perfect example of Capricornian success. CEO of a company he built from scratch. Exemplary family man, reliable provider. Community reference. He worked 14 hours a day, every day, for 18 years. No vacations, no days off. No moments for himself. Because he believed that's what real men did. That's what responsibility meant. Until in a specific Saturn transit in 2024, everything collapsed in 3 months. The company he built with so much sacrifice was sued for something he couldn't have predicted. The marriage he thought solid revealed itself a facade when his wife asked for divorce, saying she was married to a ghost, not a man. The children he thought were fine revealed deep resentment for growing up with an emotionally absent father. And worst of all, his health collapsed. Heart attack at 42, and when Paul was in the hospital bed, connected to machines, unable to work for the first time in decades, he had a panic attack. Not from physical pain, but because for the first time in his life, he had nothing to do. No immediate responsibilities, no problems to solve, no mountains to climb. And without these things, he didn't know who he was. He fell into deep depression. Not from the loss of the company, marriage, health, but from the loss of identity. Because Paul was never Paul. Paul was always the CEO, the provider, the responsible one. And when those masks were ripped off, there was no one underneath. And that's what will happen to you in 2026, Capricorn. The structures you built will start to crumble. And you'll realize something terrible. You didn't build an empire. You built a prison and called it success. But here's the part few understand. This collapse isn't the universe punishing you. It's the universe freeing you. Freeing you from the prison you built yourself with so much effort. Every brick you laid with discipline. Every sacrifice you made with determination. Every no you said to your true desires. All of this built not a castle, but a cell. And 2026 will explode the walls of this cell. Will force you outside. Will drag you into the light even if you resist with all your strength. Because you will resist, Capricorn, you'll try to hold up the falling walls. Will try to rebuild what's crumbling. Will work even harder to keep everything in place, but it won't work. And each frustrated attempt to control the uncontrollable will exhaust you a bit more. Until the moment when you simply have no more strength. And it's in this moment of total exhaustion that true transformation begins. Because when you no longer have strength to hold, you finally let go, and when you let go, you realize the sky doesn't fall, the world doesn't end, life doesn't stop. Actually, something magical happens. For the first time, you breathe for real. Now, I know all this seems scary, and many of you must be thinking, I can't let go. I have too many responsibilities. Too many people depend on me. But the truth, Capricorn, is that you need to make a crucial distinction between real responsibilities and assumed responsibilities. Real responsibilities are those that are truly yours. Assumed responsibilities are those you took because no one else would. And over the years, you accumulated so many assumed responsibilities that you forgot which were really yours. You became the emotional garbage collector of your family, the professional firefighter at your work, the constant savior of your friends, and called this being responsible, but it's not. It's being codependent. It's being afraid that if you're not needed, you have no value. It's being terrified of discovering who you are when you're not solving everyone's problems. And 2026 will force you to make this distinction, will put you in situations where you simply can't carry everything anymore. where your body will refuse to continue, where your mind will say, enough, and then you'll have a choice. Keep trying to hold everything until you collapse completely, or start letting go of what was never yours to carry. The second option is terrifying, because it means disappointing people, means breaking the image you built of yourself, means admitting you're not superhuman. But it's the only option that leads to real life, to real freedom, to real peace. If you made it this far and feel a tightness in your chest, an urge to cry that you've been repressing for years, leave the emoji in the comments. This shows you're starting to recognize the truth. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Because in the next chapters, I'll reveal the specific signs that will mark the beginning of this collapse in your life signs that, when they appear, will confirm the process has already begun. And you need to be prepared to recognize them, because ignoring these signs will make the collapse much more violent and destructive than it needs to be. So click subscribe now, turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey together. Because what comes next will reveal exactly when and how this collapse will reach you. And believe me, Capricorn, when it happens, you'll want to be prepared. Because it's not just your external structure that will crumble. It's your entire identity that will be rebuilt from scratch. The universe doesn't warn Capricorn subtly. It doesn't whisper. It knocks on the door until it falls. Because you're the most stubborn sign of the zodiac when it comes to change. You resist until the last second. You hold up the walls until they literally crumble on top of you. And in 2026, the universe knows this. That's why it won't be gentle, won't give light warnings you can ignore, will send signs so clear, so impossible to deny, that you'll have no choice but to pay attention. And these signs will come in the form of collapse, of visible cracks in the structure you built, of failures in systems that always worked, of crumbling in areas you thought solid. When these signs appear, and they will appear, you'll know there's no going back, that transformation has begun. And that resisting will only make everything more painful. The first sign, Capricorn, will hit exactly where you feel most secure. At work, in your career. In the professional structure you dedicated your life to building. First SIGN professional collapse, the first blow comes through your most solid foundation. Work, Capricorn. You built your entire identity on top of your ability to produce, deliver, be professionally reliable. You're the one everyone looks for when they need something done right. You're the cornerstone of every structure around you. And you take pride in that. But in 2026, something will happen that will completely shake this foundation. And it won't be something you can control with more effort. It could be an unexpected restructuring at work that eliminates your position. Could be a project you invested years in being canceled overnight. Could be recognition you expected for decades going to someone else. Could be your body simply refusing to continue at the pace you've always maintained. Could be discovering that the entire sector in which you built your expertise is becoming obsolete. Or it could be something even deeper, a sudden perception that you hate what you do, that you spent decades building a career in something that was never really your dream, that you chose security instead of passion, stability instead of meaning, recognition instead of fulfillment. And now, after years, maybe decades, climbing this mountain, you reach the top and realize it's the wrong mountain. The view isn't what you expected, and you don't feel what you should feel. Let me tell you about Mariana, a 51-year-old Capricorn. Mariana was a lawyer for 27 years, partner at one of the most prestigious firms in the city, respected, successful, wealthy. She had everything society says you should want. But in a specific Pluto transit in 2025, something broke inside her. She was in the middle of an important meeting, discussing a $1 million case, surrounded by powerful people. And suddenly, she simply couldn't anymore. Couldn't pretend it mattered. Couldn't pretend that success fulfilled her. Couldn't pretend she was alive. She had a panic attack right there, in the conference room. And when she got home that night, she couldn't get out of bed for 3 weeks, deep depression, because she realized something terrifying. She had dedicated 27 years of her life to something she never really wanted. She became a lawyer because it was the safe choice, because it was what her parents approved of, because it was what guaranteed status and money. but it was never what her soul wanted. And now, at 51, she looked back and saw an entire life wasted being who she should be, not who she was. And worse, she had no idea who she really was, because she had never stopped long enough to find out. And that's what will happen to you in 2026, Capricorn. You'll be forced to confront the truth about your career, about your work, about everything you invested your vital energy in. And the question that will arise is simple, but devastating. Does this really matter to me? Or am I just doing it because I think I should? And when you're honest with the answer, everything will start to crumble. Because once you see the truth, you can't pretend you don't see it anymore. Once you admit you're on the wrong mountain, you can't keep climbing as if nothing changed. And this admission will be the beginning of the collapse. If you're feeling a knot in your stomach now, a sensation that you've known this for a long time but didn't want to admit it, leave the emoji in the comments. Because the second sign is even more personal and will attack where you least expect. Second, SIGN emotional isolation becomes visible. The second sign comes through the loneliness you've always denied. Capricorn, you take pride in your independence, in your ability to not need anyone, to solve everything alone. But in 2026, this independence will reveal itself for what it always really was: isolation, fear of intimacy disguised as strength, inability to connect emotionally disguised as self-sufficiency. And this will become impossible to ignore. It may come through a situation where you really need help and realize you have no one to call. May come through a moment of celebration where you look around and realize you're alone. May come through an emotional crisis where you finally admit you're suffering and realize you built walls so high no one can reach you. You worked so hard, built so much, conquered so much. But when you look around, there's no one to share with. Because you always put relationships in second place. After I achieve this, then I'll have time for people. After I build that, then I'll focus on relationships. After I get there, then I'll allow myself to be vulnerable. But after never comes, because there's always another mountain to climb, always another goal to achieve, always another responsibility to assume. And meanwhile, the years pass. People get tired of always being the second priority. Relationships die of neglect. And you look around and realize you built an empire, but you live in it alone. Let me tell you about Robert, a 56-year-old Capricorn. Robert was CEO of a multinational, 8-figure wealth, international recognition, power and influence most people will never have. But on his 56th birthday, he was alone in his penthouse apartment. No close friends to call, no family to celebrate with, no one who really knew him. He had thousands of professional contacts, but no real connections. He was respected by everyone, but loved by no one. And that night, alone with his wealth and success around him, he cried for the first time in decades, because he realized he had traded life for work, love for achievements, connection for control, and now it was too late to go back. The people who loved him had moved on. The relationships he neglected had died, and he was alone at the top of the mountain he built. And that's what 2026 will show you. Capricorn, the real cost of your success, not in money, not in sacrifices you know about, but in connections you lost, in intimacy you avoided, in vulnerability you never allowed. And when this loneliness becomes impossible to deny, you'll have to make a choice. Keep building alone, or finally learn to ask for help, to open up, to be vulnerable, to admit you're not made of stone, that you need people as much as any other human being. And this admission will be one of the hardest things you've ever done, because it goes against everything you believe about yourself. But it's the only way out of the prison you built. If you're recognizing this pattern, if you're seeing the loneliness that was always there but you denied, leave the emoji in the comments. And prepare yourself, because the third sign is the deepest of all. Third sign, the body collapses. The last sign is the most frightening and the most undeniable, because it doesn't come from your mind, which you can control. Doesn't come from your emotions, which you can repress. It comes from your body, and the body doesn't lie. 2026 will be the year many Capricorns face serious physical crises, not by chance, But because the body is the last place where the soul screams when you're not listening in any other way. Years, decades of overwork, of sacrificed sleep, of neglected nutrition, of accumulated stress, of repressed emotions, of constant tension. All of this will exact its price in 2026 and will exact it dramatically. Could be a serious illness that forces you to stop completely. Could be exhaustion so deep you literally can't get out of bed. Could be chronic pains no doctor can explain. Could be insomnia so severe you spend entire nights awake, even though exhausted. Could be the heart saying enough in a literal way. Capricorn, you've always treated your body like a machine. Something you can push beyond limits. Something you can ignore when it complains. Something that must obey your will. But the body isn't a machine. It's a living organism with needs, with limits, with its own wisdom. And when you ignore these limits for too long, the body forces you to stop and doesn't ask permission, simply shuts down. Let me tell you about Helena, a 44-year-old Capricorn. Helena was a high-level executive at a tech company, worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, prided herself on never taking a sick day in 15 years of career, slept 4 hours a night, skipped meals, lived on coffee and adrenaline. Until in a Saturn transit in 2024, her body simply stopped. Severe burnout syndrome combined with fibromyalgia. Pain so intense she couldn't move. Fatigue so deep that getting out of bed was impossible. And when doctors said she would need at least a year of complete leave, Helena panicked, but I need to work. I have responsibilities. I can't stop. And the doctor looked at her and said something that changed everything. Helena, your body has already stopped. You just haven't realized it yet. And that's when she understood. She had no control, never had. She only had the illusion of control the body allowed her to maintain until now. And now the body was saying, it's over. You stop now, or I stop you. And that's what will happen to many Capricorns in 2026. The body will rebel, will force the stop you would never allow voluntarily, will oblige you to face what you always avoided, that you're human, that you have limits, that you can't control everything, and that ignoring your needs has consequences. Consequences that eventually become impossible to ignore. But here's the important part, Capricorn. This physical crisis isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the body forcing you to finally take care of yourself, to finally prioritize yourself, to finally admit you're not invincible. And when you accept this, when you finally stop, when you finally truly rest, something magical happens. You begin to heal, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because for the first time, you're not running, not forcing, not controlling. You're simply being, and in this being, without doing, without building, without conquering. You finally find yourself. If you're feeling this resonate deeply, if you're recognizing signs in your own body, leave the emoji in the comments. And before we move on to the next chapter, you need to do something very important. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now, because what comes next is the complete prophecy of 2026 for Capricorn. What the universe will take, what it will restore, and what it will give you that's infinitely greater than everything you lost. So click subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go together to the most important part of this revelation. Because Capricorn, the worst is still to come, but also the best. And you need to be prepared for both. After professional collapse begins, after emotional isolation becomes impossible to deny, and after the body enters collapse, then Capricorn. The prophecy of 2026 will finally be fulfilled, and it doesn't speak of permanent destruction. It speaks of conscious reconstruction, but not the reconstruction you're used to doing. Not the one where you simply get up, dust yourself off, and go back to working harder. This is the reconstruction that happens from the inside out. The one that changes not what you do, but who you are. And for this reconstruction to happen, Capricorn, some things need to die first, not physically, but symbolically, structurally, identitarily. And what will die will hurt so much you'll think you won't survive. But you will survive. Because Capricorn always survives. It's what you do best. But this time, you won't survive the same way. You'll be reborn in a completely different way. Take a deep breath now, because what I'm about to reveal will completely transform how you see this collapse process the universe will take. In 2026, the universe will tear from you everything that isn't sustainable. And I need to be brutally honest about this, Capricorn. It won't be a gradual process where you have time to adjust. It will be like an earthquake, fast, violent, impossible to stop. Asterisk, the universe will take your illusion of control. Asterisk, that deep belief that if you work hard enough, plan enough, prepare enough, you can control outcomes. 2026 will show you this was never true. That the control you always had was just the universe allowing you to believe that. Like parents let children believe they're driving with a toy steering wheel. But now the child has grown, and the universe will show you that you were never in control. You'll put all effort into something and see it fail. We'll plan perfectly and see everything go wrong. We'll do everything right and still lose. And this will break something fundamental in you. The belief that effort guarantees results, that merit guarantees reward, that hard work guarantees success. And when this belief falls, you'll feel completely lost because it was the foundation of your entire life philosophy. Asterisk, the universe will take relationships sustained by your function. Asterisk, Capricorn. You need to understand something painful. Many people in your life don't relate to you. They relate to what you do for them, what you provide, what you solve. What you sustain, they don't love you. They love what you offer. And in 2026, when you can no longer offer, these people will disappear. Could be a partner who only stayed for financial security. Could be friends who only appeared when they needed favors. Could be family members who only came close when they needed help. Could be colleagues who were only friendly because you were useful. And when these people leave, you'll feel deep pain. But not from losing them, from discovering they were never real. That you spent years, maybe decades, sustaining relationships that were transactions, not connections. That you confused need with love, dependence with partnership, utility with value. And this discovery will be devastating because it will reveal how much you became a function instead of a person. Asterisk, the universe will take your professional identity. Asterisk, who are you when you're not working? This question will haunt you in 2026 because the universe will put you in situations where you can't work, where you can't produce, where you can't build. Could be through illness, could be through burnout, could be through sector collapse, could be through such a big market shift that your expertise becomes irrelevant. Or it could simply be because your body refuses to continue, and they're unable to do what you've always done. You'll have to confront who you are beyond what you do, and you'll discover something terrifying you don't know, because you never developed an identity beyond the professional. You're the lawyer, the doctor, the executive, the businessman. But take that away, and what's left? This question will paralyze you, because the answer will be nothing, or at least it seems like nothing. But it's not nothing. It's just that you never allowed the rest of you to emerge. Asterisk, the universe will take your ability to sacrifice the present for the future. Asterisk, Capricorn. You live postponing life. When I get there, then I'll rest when I achieve that. Then I'll enjoy when I build this. Then I'll live, but the future never comes. Because when you reach one goal, you're already obsessed with the next. When you reach the top of one mountain, you're already looking at the next. You spent your entire life postponing pleasure, joy, lightness, always in the name of a future you never allowed to become present. And 2026 will end this. We'll put you in situations where you have no choice but to be present. Where you can't plan 5 years ahead because you can barely think about the next day. Where you can't work for a better future because you need to deal with now. And this will be terrifying for you. Because you don't know how to live in the present. You only know how to work for the future. Asterisk, the universe will take external structure, so you build internal. Asterisk, the last thing the universe will take is the most important. The external structure you spent your life building. The solid career. The impeccable reputation, the social status, the financial stability. All of this may be shaken in 2026, not necessarily completely destroyed, but significantly shaken. And when external structure starts to crumble, you'll realize something revolutionary. You never built an internal structure. You have no inner peace, no emotional security, no spiritual stability. You put all your security in external things. And now that they're falling, you realize you have nothing solid inside yourself to lean on. And this discovery will bring you to your knees. If you're feeling a tightness in your chest reading this, if you're recognizing these patterns, leave the emoji in the comments. This shows you're aware of what's coming. And now, Capricorn, comes the most important part. Because after the universe takes all this, it restores. And what it restores is worth infinitely more than what was taken. .. The universe will restore. After demolition comes reconstruction. After collapse comes rebirth. After the death of old Capricorn comes the birth of the new. And what the universe will restore in you will completely transform who you are. Asterisk, the universe will restore your humanity. Asterisk, for the first time in your life, you'll have permission to be human, to have weaknesses, to admit you don't know, to ask for help, to cry when you need to cry, to rest when you need to rest, to say no when you need to say no. You spent your entire life trying to be superhuman, trying to be the rock that never breaks, the mountain that never crumbles, the foundation that never fails. But you're none of these things, you're human, with needs, limitations, vulnerabilities. And in 2026, after all the collapse, you'll finally accept this. And you know what will happen when you accept. The right people will come closer, not people who wanted your function, but people who want you, the real, vulnerable, imperfect, human you. And these connections will be deeper than anything you've ever experienced, because they'll be based on truth, not utility. On being, not doing. Asterisk, the universe will restore authentic relationships. Asterisk, after transactional relationships are removed, something beautiful will happen. New people will start appearing in your life, but not just any type of person. People who see you beyond what you do, who value who you are, not what you offer, who stay in difficult moments, not just in successes. People who love you in vulnerability, not just in strength, who celebrate your rest, not just your work, who respect your limits, not just your capabilities. And these relationships will show you something you never understood before, that real love isn't based on merit, isn't something you conquer by working hard, isn't a reward for effort. It's something that simply exists when two souls recognize each other, without conditions, without transactions, without performance expectations. Asterisk, the universe will restore your true purpose. Asterisk, 4 years. You confused purpose with position, with title, rank, status. You thought your purpose was to be CEO, be partner, be recognized. But purpose isn't about what you are in social hierarchy. It's about why you're here, what difference your soul came to make, what mark you want to leave that isn't based on external achievements. And 2026, after destroying all external structures, will reconnect you with that internal purpose. You'll have profound insights about what really matters. We'll understand why you went through everything you went through. We'll see how each failure, each loss, each pain was preparing you for something bigger. And when you finally see the complete picture, everything will make sense. You'll realize you were never wasting time. You were being molded. Each experience was a sculpting tool. And now, after so much being sculpted by pain, the work of art can finally emerge. Asterisk, the universe will restore your ability to be present. Asterisk, this will be one of the deepest transformations. Because for the first time in your life, you'll learn to be present, to not constantly live in the future, to not always be planning the next step, to simply be here now. And when you develop this capacity, life will change completely. You'll notice beauties that were always there but you never saw. Will feel pleasures that were always available but you never allowed. Will experience connections that were always possible but you never stopped long enough to create. Food will taste better. The sun will be warmer. Conversations will be deeper. Hugs will be more meaningful because you're finally there. Not just physically, but total presence. Mind, body, soul, everything there. In that moment. Asterisk, the universe will restore internal structure. Asterisk, and finally, the most important restoration of all. The building of a solid internal structure. A peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. A security that comes from within, not from without. A stability based on who you are, not what you have. You'll learn to meditate. Even if you always thought you couldn't, will develop spiritual practices that anchor you. Will create rituals that nourish you. Will build an internal foundation so solid that external storms won't shake you anymore. And this internal structure will be stronger than any external structure you built, because it can't be taken away, can't crumble. Doesn't depend on market, economy, others' opinions. It's yours, eternally yours. If you're feeling this transformation begin to take shape inside you, leave the emoji in the comments and prepare yourself, because what comes next is even more powerful. The universe will deliver. And when the cycle closes, Capricorn, when you've crossed the dark night, when you've lost everything you needed to lose and found everything you needed to find, the universe will give you gifts that will redefine your existence. Asterisk, the gift of true leadership. Asterisk, you've always been a leader, Capricorn, but it was leadership based on position, hierarchy, formal authority. After 2026, your leadership will change completely. You won't lead by title anymore. You'll lead by presence, by wisdom that comes from having survived collapse, by compassion that comes from having been broken, by humility that comes from having lost everything. And paradoxically, this vulnerable leadership will be much more powerful because people don't follow titles. They follow real human beings who've been where they are, who know pain, who survived the fall, and who can show the way back. Asterisk, the gift of conscious building. Asterisk, you'll build again because building is in your nature. But this time, you'll build completely differently. Won't build from obligation, expectation, fear anymore. We'll build from love, purpose, joy. Won't build until exhaustion anymore. We'll build with healthy limits. Won't build alone anymore. We'll build in community. And what you build this time will be sustainable because it will have real foundations, not based on control, but alignment. Asterisk, the gift of sacred time. Asterisk, you'll finally understand that time isn't just a resource to be optimized. It's life to be lived. We'll learn to value leisure time as much as work time, rest time as much as production time, time of being as much as doing. And we'll realize the most important moments in life aren't those of conquest. They're those of connection, of presence, of simple, non-performative love. Asterisk, the gift of aligned manifestation. Asterisk, when you stop forcing and start aligning. When you stop controlling and start co-creating. When you trust the process instead of trying to dominate every detail. Something magical happens. Things start to flow. The right opportunities appear at the right time. The right people cross your path. The right doors open without you needing to break down walls. Because you're finally vibrating at the right frequency. Not the frequency of forced effort, but the frequency of authentic alignment. Asterisk, the gift of inner peace. Asterisk, and the greatest gift of all, Capricorn, will be peace. Not that temporary peace that comes when you finally reach a goal, but the permanent peace that comes from being in agreement with yourself. The peace of not needing to prove anything. The peace of not needing to be the best. The peace of accepting yourself completely. The peace of knowing you're enough exactly as you are. See you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter. See you soon, Capricorns.